Today we're going to talk about Ignite highlights and basically, for some of you guys, you might have joined Ignite virtually. Some of you guys might have been there in person. They had so much stuff, and I know it was heavily around Copilot. So I tried to pull together some of the M365 topics that I thought were relevant for this group. I actually as preparation for this group, I also spoke for a group in Australia last week, and so that was nice because I kind of got to go through and make sure that what I had made sense. So we're going to go through that same presentation today so that we can give everybody the updates around what's going on. And then here's a little bit about the one that's going to come in January for Ferdy. So you'll start seeing these promotion around him for a little while once that rolls out. All right, I'm going to stop this. Let me switch presentations. Hi, everybody. I see people. Good. I see people popping in. Great. Okay. Yeah, see my presentation okay? Looks like I can see it on this side. Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. All right. So like I said, it's really hard sometimes to give a report on Ignite because so many things happen and there are different experiences of whether you go in person, whether you do it virtually, whether you do kind of a hybrid attack at it. But there's just so much information that one of the things that I always like from a best tips practice is I always go back to the book of news because the book of news has everything that's really important to Microsoft in one place. So if you feel like you're like, there was so many sessions and there's so much information and I'm not sure what to make out of it, if you go back to the book of news, it's a great kind of summary and outline of all of the information that they've rolled out in a way that kind of makes sense to people. So I've used that for our basis today in terms of talking through some of the important updates around M365. And just at the very, very beginning, just to give you guys a quick update, I do have to leave like at 5 till because I'm going to be teaching a class at the top of the hour. So I will take questions at the end and then I'll just pop off. But feel free to stick around and chat. And my team will be here to answer your questions as well if for whatever reason I take off and you haven't gotten something answered. So a little bit about me. My name is Sharon Weaver. I am the founder and CEO of Smarter Consulting. I have been in technology basically my whole career. I have been doing this really for almost 30 years. I have been working heavily in the software development space, application management space. Along the way, I've kind of worked my way up into product management roles and practice management roles, and eventually created my own consulting firm. And I spent a lot of time hanging out with Microsoft. I would call it a little bit of a hobby. Basically, I've gotten to learn all their applications, get good enough at the applications that I start checking the product teams. And through the course of that, they have a lot of different programs that you can participate in. And so I have received awards and certifications across a lot of those programs where now I get to basically connect the dots between the people who make the products at Microsoft and the people who use them, most of you guys. And I'm also certified as a business and systems analyst, and I'm a Six Sigma black belt. And the only reason I mention is because that helps me to understand what the pain points are so that I can help other people figure out how to solve their problems. If you want to connect with me, there's my email or my social media handles. Pretty much every social media is Sharon E. Weaver. My email's right there if you want to follow up with me, if you want to grab the QR code, if you would like us at Smarter Consulting to help you with anything that you're working on, whether it is training, custom applications, solutions, or migrations, or even governance around Copilot, maybe. Feel free to grab that QR code, fill out a contact us form. We'd be happy to reach out and help you with anything you need help with. All right, so these are the things that I picked. I kind of went through the book of news and I was like, okay, what works for this kind of M365 group? And I came up with basically the modern work area, some of the Microsoft 365 Copilot stuff. I want to talk a little bit about agents, and I want to talk about a little bit about kind of the stuff that's coming in Copilot Studio, just because I think these are all topics that matter to you. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to either pop your hand up or put it in chat. And I absolutely don't mind stopping and answering a question. Just let me know if you do have one by popping your hand up or putting the question in chat. And that way I'll make sure to keep track of anybody who needs anything. All right, so let's start with the basics. So we start talking about modern work. We've got Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is getting along. I'm sure you guys have noticed there's a lot of fun things happening in it. The new Teams has been working faster and better than ever. And there's some new features that are happening. The ones that are in the book of news are heavily around transcription and translation. And so what you'll see is that there already are a lot of multilingual options in Teams, but what is going to happen is transcriptions are only going to get better, and that translation is going to get faster, and it's going to get better, and it's going to include more and more and more languages. So you'll start to see when we start to marry up the meeting recap in Teams Premium with the Copilot features in Teams and the translation parts of all of that, that things will just get to be super duper easy for people who hop on a call and they would like to read it, see it, or hear it in another language that is maybe not the language of the presenter, or maybe there's multiple people participating that feel more comfortable in a different language. I will give you a little sneak peek ad too. I don't have a slide for this, but I don't know if you guys noticed the new calendar rolled out to Teams this week. So if you haven't seen that yet, keep an eye out for it. And if you don't notice it, if you go to settings in your Teams settings, under calendar, there's a little toggle switch. And once it hits your tenant, there'll be a little on switch. And you can see your actual Outlook calendar inside of Teams now. So I've gotten that enabled this week, and it's pretty exciting to be able to see a real calendar in Teams. Yeah, Susan, I'm still kind of getting around the new calendar as well. Susan says she loves the new calendar, but has issue pinning it. There's a few things don't work quite yet in it also, but I'm really excited for what's to come. So another thing that's in Microsoft Teams is the storyline integration. So for those of you guys who are already using what was Yammer that is now Viva Engage, there's more pieces that are now coming to all of that around storyline integration. And so storyline integration will essentially allow you to be able to have people that provide direct updates out. So think about it like a Facebook or a LinkedIn feed where I can post my own stuff. You can follow it. This is really handy when we think about like leadership, being able to have direct connection with a lot of people, especially in a large organization. We don't have to limit ourselves maybe to like a leadership corner on an intranet page anymore. We don't have to have them send out a newsletter via email anymore. They could simply maybe have a storyline in Teams where they update things and the entire organization, or obviously permissions trimmed parts of the organization would have the ability to then see that information all in one place. It's going to centralize communications, and it also is going to allow employees to be able to share their own storylines and be able to connect with other people across the entire organization. So in this one, looks like it's going to be available in preview early next year. So keep an eye out for Storyline. If you guys are fans of Viva Engage, you're going to love the new Storyline features. So the next one in Teams is this summarized content of files shared in chat. And so essentially what this means is, so the files that are shared within a team right now, Copilot has the ability to summarize this. But the files that are in chat, they live in your OneDrive, so they kind of live in this whole nother place. What's going to happen is group chat and one-on-one chat will be treated similar to conversation in Teams. And early in 2025, in both the mobile and desktop client, you will be able to get summaries of files that have been shared, not just in the team, but also in your one-on-one and group chats. So you can see how quickly this is going to be beneficial and valuable because you're going to be able to get access to that information. And most importantly, all of the access will stay in place. So If people have access to that file via a one-on-one or group chat, they will be able to have access to the summary information. But if they do not, then they will not be able to see summaries around that information. And it'll also honor any other policies or labels or any sort of plans, policies, access that's already in place. So if it's living in their OneDrive and it has a label, a policy, or a permission attached to it, then the Copilot summary will honor that as well. I think that's kind of neat. All right, more in Copilot and Teams. This is one that everybody's like super duper excited about is the analyze screen shared content. What this basically means is that, like this. So when you share content with other people, sometimes it's in a PowerPoint, sometimes it's PDF, sometimes it's a whiteboard. There's all kinds of different ways. Maybe it's OneNote that we bring up this information to share it with each other. Maybe I'm troubleshooting and I want you to share your desktop with me, right? Whenever you share that content, in a PowerPoint or in a Teams meeting, sometimes we then afterwards have to, can you send me a copy of the presentation or whatnot, right? We have to share that information out or we have to store the file. Well, one of the new features is that Copilot and Teams will be able to analyze that screen shared content while you're on the call. So as we review a presentation or a file or something like that, Copilot will take that information, it will store it as part of the overall meeting. It will analyze it as part of the entire meeting, and then it will be able to use that information for all the things that Copilot already does and will do. So you'll start to see some really neat things happening. As you can imagine, this probably comes with some hefty governance because who knows what people are sharing. And so I say a lot now in SharePoint, there's no more security by obscurity. Well, we've done a lot of the same thing when we share content in Teams meetings is sometimes we will share something and we'll be like, well, I'm going to show this to you, but like, you can't take a screenshot and I'm not going to give you a copy of it. But if you have Copilot enabled, and you're inside your tenant and you have analyze screen sharing enabled, just imagine Copilot will be able to get that information. So I'm sure there's going to be a huge opportunity here for governance and rules and permissions and policies to determine for each organization what they're allowed to share, what they're not allowed to share. I'm guessing also there's going to probably be some training on meetings and meetings management around what you should or should not share. I can only imagine the stuff that's going to come out, the opportunities that are going to come out of this. Yes, Deb, I do see Purview getting used a ton around Copilot. People are going to figure out what governance is, that it actually has to happen. They're going to figure out how to do security settings. They're going to figure out labels, all kinds of fun stuff. Just because things like this, Copilot's going to be able to get access to things that I don't think people have really had access to in the past. So once again, this capability is planned to be in preview in early 2025. Copilot in Excel. So for anybody who watched the keynote, Copilot in Excel, one of the biggest things that's coming out is that Copilot in Excel will be able to code in Python, which is a big deal because that way, it's going to help you with those types of things. But in addition, there's this other thing called task-tailored spreadsheet templates. Long story short, is that Copilot will be able to assist you with creating templatized worksheets in a way that it hasn't been able to in the past. So think about if you need a new budget for a project, or maybe you need a new inventory tracker, maybe you need a new sales report, you've got templates for all of those things. Your users will be able to go to Copilot and they will be able to, as part of the project, say, create me a new budget, a new project budget for this project. And inside of Excel will be able to grab that template, grab all that information, pull it out and create an Excel file for them using Copilot, as opposed to having to manually do a file save as or copy or what. So this one, they're saying is generally available by the end of the year. So we'll see. I know that there's a lot of Copilot Excel stuff that's been rolling out already. So keep your eyes out and maybe just kind of watch your Excel and see when you start seeing some of the template stuff roll out. I think that'll be really exciting. I would honestly say Copilot in PowerPoint has grown to be one of my favorite M365 Copilot usages, mostly because I build a lot of PowerPoint presentations. And I did indeed start this particular presentation using Copilot. I was just like, hey, can you build me a presentation around this topic? Now, to be fair, I didn't just tell it to do it and it didn't just do it for me. So I still had to go get the information I wanted. I had to put that into a document. I had to clean up the outline to make sure I had the information I wanted. I then had to use PowerPoint to build a Copilot build a PowerPoint presentation based on that document. I then had to go through and kind of clean it up, and I used Designer to make it look nice, and I kind of tweaked the information on my own. But at the end of the day, the idea that Copilot can very quickly spin up even just a bare bones presentation, a lot of times will save me quite a bit of time and headache because it's just something I don't have to mess with worrying about. It'll just do it for me, and then I can tweak the information. I do this a lot between training and proposals and speaking in the community. I build a ton of PowerPoints. So Copilot has definitely become one of my favorite. So one of the new features that's in the book of news is this new narrative builder. So narrative builder, right now, what it does is if I create an outline in Word, it'll take that same outline from Word and it'll kind of like copy paste and tweak it into PowerPoint. The idea with this is that it's going to kind of go one level above that, and it's going to take the information that's in your outline and it will create a really nice, more professional presentation than just dumping the outline notes in there. And it's going to have more quality built into the presentation from the beginning. So I'm excited for this to roll out and be able to use this as part of my day-to-day world. Another piece of this is the presentation translation. So just like we talked about in meetings with all the translation stuff, getting better and more. In addition, in PowerPoint, you're going to be able to translate it into one of 40 languages simply using Copilot. It will keep everything kind of in place, but it'll update the language itself. And notice that this says it's supposed to be available on the web December. Yes, this December. And hopefully for desktop and Mac, it'll come around in January. So keep an eye out for all of your presentations to be able to very easily change this. This is a tool that kind of already exists in PowerPoint, but it's going to go one step further by being able to have Copilot do it for you. So there'll be like an extra little piece in there where Copilot's able to assist you with that. So you don't have to find the button, you don't have to click the button, you don't have to check it. It's just going to make things a little bit easier. The other thing that's coming across the board in a lot of places, but specifically PowerPoint is what matters, is that you will start being able to use the images from your existing asset library. So if you're not using organizational asset libraries, you should be. First of all, they're super cool. And second of all, Copilot's going to be able to use them in the near future. So if you don't have that and you would like it set up, let us know. We're happy to help you. We set up organizational asset libraries for our clients all the time in SharePoint. They're fairly easy. It's just a little bit of PowerShell. And then once you've got them going, they're pretty easy to use. But Copilot will be able to start using these in the near future. And it'll also be able to use it from other asset libraries and media stock libraries like Templify. So if you have your media assets organized and available for PowerPoint to be able to find, then Copilot will be able to help you with that. All right, the next one is Copilot in Outlook. I just recently actually did a presentation on Copilot in Outlook, and I'm going to be really honest, like it's really cool, but it's kind of limited, right? So at this point, we can use Copilot to draft a new email, which is really nice. We can use Copilot to maybe edit the sound of the information that's in our email. There's a few little tasks we can do in Outlook, but there's not a ton of stuff we can do. That's about to change. There's new stuff that's coming in for Copilot in Outlook. Primarily, the scheduling feature is going to be able to allow us to use Copilot to schedule focus time, schedule one-on-one time with other people. And what's going to happen is you're going to say, hey, schedule me a meeting with somebody. It'll say, sure, no problem. It'll look up both your times. It'll find the next available best time, and it'll go ahead and schedule the meeting and send it on its way. I understand this isn't like rocket science and it's not, this isn't breaking ground to be able to schedule a meeting, but the idea that you no longer have to open your calendar, look at the best available time, click the create meeting, type in all the stuff, the idea that Copilot can do this for you, I think it's kind of neat. And it shows like this first step of what's coming, and just think when it's able to do more and more and more for you. So the next thing it's going to be able to do is, along with scheduling those meetings with other people, you'll also be able to use Copilot to start drafting meeting agendas. So as you're preparing for a meeting, you can ask it, hey, go ahead and put an agenda together for this meeting. You can set meeting goals. So for example, like it says, maybe you want Copilot to review the next project and introduce a team member. And what it'll do is it'll take that information and it'll draft an agenda with things that you need to accomplish during that specific meeting. Once again, I know a lot of people are like, well, Sharon, I could have just typed that myself. Yes, you can. But having Copilot help you, you'd be amazed how fast it gets really nice. Because, so for example, I like to like type really fast and I like to just miss words a lot because I'm like, do the thing, right? I'm just like thinking about other stuff. What I've been doing is I've been opening the Outlook, the Copilot Outlook composer, because why not? I already have it. And I pop it in there and I'm like, here's the stuff that's in my brain, tell the people. And what's really nice is it goes, here's an actual very nice email that people can read, that is pleasant, that is not just do the thing. And sometimes I'll delete one or two things out of there and make a small change, but for the most part it's getting to know me. And so it says really nice things and I'm like, that's fantastic. There you go. So I think even these little things, like these types of things, are just baby beginning steps for what's going to make our lives way, way easier. So these updates really should already be starting to roll out. It says available by end of November. I understand it's December now. If you go look, there are certain things that you can do. They've been rolling a lot of calendar updates out, and probably over the next 30 days or so, you're still going to continue to see calendar updates until they get quiet for the holidays, and then they'll back off for a little bit, and then come January, they'll pick up anything they haven't gotten done yet. So keep an eye out for some of the cool new stuff in Copilot for Outlook because it makes your life a lot easier. The next big thing is Microsoft Places. So Microsoft Places is going to general availability. Microsoft Places has been in preview for a while now. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that have been on the pilot for this to kind of watch what's happening and practice with it. But the idea behind Microsoft Places is that you can put in a map into M365 and it can keep track of where your locations are. And locations, you know, used to just be like an office location, but let's say, for example, you have remote workers that are working at their home and you have office locations, maybe you have offsite meeting locations, maybe you have regular places that you're going to do things. Maybe, you know, you even have places that you regularly meet up for happy hour. Who knows? You can identify those actual physical places. You can put them into the system. And then what will end up happening is people will be able to, all the end users will be able to identify where they're at, like physically located, and it will keep track of that for people in places. And now what's going to happen is Copilot is going to be able to use the information that's in places, and you can see maybe it could recommend it in Office Day because it's like, hey, I looked at where everybody's supposed to be located based on their calendars, and it looks like the highest percentage of people are going to be in the office on Thursday. So if you say, can you please recommend a day for us to have a meeting, or can you please schedule a meeting with the team? It'll say it looks like the bulk of the people are going to be in the same location on this day, and it can recommend the best day for you to have an in-person meeting. It can manage room bookings. So think about the idea of, you know, when we're planning ahead, and I've got clients that have dealt with this over the years. Hey, we're dealing with, you know, meetings over the next 3 to 6 months, and we want to make sure that we're booking the rooms for the right days with the right people. Copilot can start to help you to be able to manage room bookings based on how many people are going to be there. And this has been a really big, difficult thing, especially post-pandemic, as people have moved to hybrid, is, well, I don't want to book a room for 50 if only 10 people are going to show up and the rest are going to be on the phone. But I also don't want to book a room for 10 and have 50 people show up. So the idea behind the mixture between Places and Copilot is that Copilot will help you to decide which room is the right room for the meeting based on where people are identifying that they're going to be located. So I know it's going to take everybody a little while to get there, for everybody to use their calendar properly, for places to be set up properly, and for Copilot to understand this. But if you kind of think, how cool this can be, this can be really nice. And I start to think about things like Star Trek. So Places Finder, um, this Places Finder and Space Analytics starts making me think about Star Trek. So you think about like when they're on the ship and they're like, tell me where so and so is, or tell me how many people are in this room, like when they're trying to abandon the ship or whatever. I feel like, this is getting us closer to that idea of, if you're not sure where somebody is, or you're wanting to know how to, I want to go have a quick meeting with this person. And I don't know about you guys in the before times when I would run by people's desks and you would walk like go 3 floors away or 2 buildings away to find somebody, and they just weren't at their desk. They were supposed to be at their desk, but they weren't at their desk because they had wandered off to do something else. Hopefully, for the most part, this is going to give us a better idea of where people should be, for the most part, so that you at least know where to expect to find them during that time period. Because it's one thing to have to walk upstairs, it's another thing when people are scattered all over the country, or even worse, all over the world, especially working from all kinds of crazy remote locations. It's nice to know where they're at and when you can get a hold of them in the right places. So I think the idea behind Places is really neat, and as Copilot comes in to help us with it, it's going to be really super valuable in terms of managing people and keeping track of things. All right, Copilot for in M365 administration centers. I'm super excited about this. Because when we think about all the things that admins have to do, in any admin center, there are policies and configuration settings. There are labels. That's on the compliance side. But then there's also license management, and there's user management, and there's role management, and all and just support and troubleshooting, and permissions, and all kinds of crazy stuff that happens in the admin world. Up till now, this has been heavily manual. Even then, sometimes we don't even have buttons for things, right? We're still using PowerShell script for some of this stuff. And I'm really excited to see how Copilot can help us with this, because I think it's going to bring a level of support and manageability into the admin space that really hasn't been there for a long time. We get to see a dashboard once in a while. I do really think that the admin centers over the last 3 or 4 years have been modernized in a very nice way. There's lots of buttons. There's lots of UI there. I don't have to do as much behind the scenes as I used to. But this Copilot piece is going to make it even better. Think about, tasks that you have to do, on a regular basis, that you could simply ask Copilot, hey, can you go do this every Monday for me? So for example, whenever they send the message summaries of the new features that are coming out, and then we sync that to Planner, and that creates tasks. Think about the idea of, hey, can you run me a report anytime one of the message summaries has to do with Outlook, for example. So anything that you do on a regular basis that you need to do over and over and over, things like that are great for this. But what's going to happen is Copilot will be able to help you do routine tasks. It'll help you to do summaries. It'll help you to pull up insights around things. It'll be able to integrate in with your team stuff. It'll integrate with your Copilot control system. And this says it's generally available early next year. So I'd say keep an eye on your admin centers at the beginning of the year, because it's going to be able to help you to do things in the admin center, understand things in the admin center, answer questions in the admin center. So I think there's a lot that's going to be really helpful in that space. Yeah, and definitely, Deb, lots and lots of stuff for DLP stuff. Tons of security policies that's coming. All right, Copilot Analytics, aka used to be the Viva Insights application. Viva Insights still exists for anybody who doesn't have Copilot, but if you do have a Copilot license, then Copilot Analytics basically ate your Viva Insights, and it's all kind of one thing now. Susan has a question. Will the admin need a Copilot license? That is an excellent question. My understanding is yes. Because it's the M365 Copilot that will sit on top of it. But like everything, don't quote me on that, but I believe yes. unless they bake it into the admin framework, which could happen. As far as I know, I think you have to have it at this point in time. So Copilot Analytics is where you will go. So let's say you've rolled out a bunch of Copilot licenses. You want to be able to see how many people are using those Copilot licenses, how they're using your Copilot licenses. So this is Viva Insights for Copilot, basically. What you can do is you can go into the Copilot Analytics and you can, in the dashboard, and see how many Copilot licenses have been rolled out, who's using them, what they're using them for, things like that. And the idea of this is not so much to, you know, shame people into using Copilot as much as to understand the ROI of the Copilot licenses that you're paying for. Because what you really want to do is you want to roll those licenses out, you want to train your people, you want to set up your governance, and you want to make sure that they're using the tools that you're paying for. This allows whoever those stakeholders are to be able to have an insight to see you spent this money on this, it's not going to waste. Here's all the people that are using it, and here's how they're using it. So far, I've gotten great feedback. Everybody that uses the Copilot analytics dashboard has been really happy with it, and it's only getting better. The next thing that's rolling out, Copilot Prompt Gallery. So this already exists as Copilot Labs, but you'll notice this was even a few weeks ago, so I'm already starting to see name changes everywhere. But Copilot Labs is now going to be the Copilot Prompt Gallery, and the reason to that is because prompts are at the heart of everything. And so what the Copilot Prompt Gallery will do is it will store all of the out-of-the-box prompts that are available for you to use. It will allow you to share those prompts amongst your users. And it will also allow you to be able to follow prompts, like prompts, and share prompts so that you can actually influence the use of those prompts within your organization. The idea here is that because prompts are going to become so pivotal in every single thing we do in Copilot, you're going to need to understand which prompts are you using, which prompts do you want your people to be using, so that they can also be productive as well, and then share those out with the rest of the organization. So this should all be generally available early next year. So if you have M365 Copilot, when you open your Copilot, just the basic, Copilot instance in either office.com or in Teams, and you get to that kind of plain screen where you're just going to start typing, you should be able to see on the bottom right when you build the prompts, there's a little more prompts button, and that's where it will take you to this Copilot prompt gallery. You can also bookmark things, but you'll be able to do more and more and more with that prompt gallery within your own license. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about agents. I had to get here because I love this stuff. But I did get asked, before you talk about agents, what the heck is an agent anyways? So agent is basically the term it's defined where a Copilot is taking action on a prompt. So at the beginning, we had prompts. We have Copilot as a platform. But then we also have in Copilot Studio, we can make copilots. I think that was getting kind of redundant and a lot of people are getting confused about what is what. So a copilot is kind of akin to a bot. So what you've always seen in bots, if you go to like a customer service bot and it says, "Hi, how are you doing? Can I help you with anything?" And you're like, "Yeah, I have a question." And it's like, "Sure, let me provide you an answer." That's kind of this old school bot mechanism. Copilot is the idea that Microsoft has brought in these bots in-house. We now have both manual questions and answers and generative AI for questions and answers. And then agent, now we're taking this whole new level. We're taking these bots and copilots and we're making them be able to do actions within the existing M365 ecosystem. So an agent is just simply a copilot or a bot that lives inside the M365 ecosystem that can do something. Sorry, my nose is itching. I don't know why. Okay, so here's an example of an out-of-the-box agent in Microsoft 365 Copilot. You can see that if I look at the screen, there are things I can do. That's the thing we're looking for. It's not even so much that I can ask it a question or have it look up something for me. But for example, this one, I can have it make a decision. I can have it organize my tasks. I can say, hey, can you tell me about this thing or this person, right? It's a little bit more than just asking a question. We want it to do specific things. And the other thing about an agent is that they're limited to a certain scope. So where Copilot is kind of like it can do anything and it can see anything and it only gives you back answers that you have access to. With an agent, they're scoped. They're scoped to a specific purpose. They're scoped to a specific group of people. They're scoped to specific tasks. So the idea of an agent is that we're taking all of that and we're turning it into something that's very, very, very targeted and focused. So they're purpose built, that are designed for specific tasks. And the idea is that they're going to manage and handle some of those simple, repeatable tasks that we do all of the time, and some of those multi-step business processes that we want to be able to hand over so that it can do it instead of us. Here's an example of an agent in SharePoint. Did I get this? I think I might have got this swapped back. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm showing you what it looks like, and then I'll show you how to make it. So this is an agent in SharePoint that's technically in Teams. So it's a SharePoint agent that has been embedded in Teams so that you can see what's happening is you're going to go to Teams. You're going to ask about something that lives in SharePoint. And then this SharePoint agent will be able to go into SharePoint, get the information, and answer your question or do something for you. So maybe you want the agent to be able to add an item to a list, create a document and add it to a library, update a template, whatever it is, but they're going to be able to do something in SharePoint. These are pretty simple to start with. And anybody who's been around for a while in the SharePoint world, you can see that up here on the taskbar, there's now a Create an Agent button. And then what will happen is those agents, much like apps, will live inside of your SharePoint site. See a question. Would an agent be something I created through Copilot Studio that I've integrated into a team? It could be. Yeah. So we'll be able to create agents. Right now, at the very, very beginning, you could only create an agent out of Copilot Studio. What is coming is the ability, and already happening in some places, is the ability to create agents in more than Copilot Studio. But in this case, we're creating the agent directly in SharePoint, not just Copilot Studio. We're going to be able to start seeing where we're going to create agents within the context that we actually want them, as opposed to having to go to Copilot Studio to make them. So think about it like an app. Instead of having to go to an app builder, I can go into SharePoint and create an app. Instead of creating a Copilot in Copilot Studio, I can go directly to SharePoint and I can create an agent the same as I could in Copilot Studio, but now I have a button in SharePoint. And again, the agents that are living in these certain products are designed to work with that product. So for example, the agents in SharePoint are designed and tailored to work with specific SharePoint files, lists, libraries, sites, but they have a very specific purpose. They are dedicated to do something, and think about kind of like an approval workflow on a specific list, right? It's an agent that can do something on a specific list or library, just like some of the other things that already exist out there. Let's see, the new agents in SharePoint are now generally available, so therefore you should be able to see them if you have SharePoint and M365 Copilot. Some examples of the new standalone agents, for example, are like the employee self-service agent. So if we think about the employee self-service agent, think about this kind of like a fancy app or a fancy bot. I can now go in here and I can say, hey, I want to create something or I want to use something that already exists. But a self-service agent is going to be like a Copilot agent that will help you be able to answer questions around HR. So like, how much time do I have left? How much PTO do I have left? What holidays do we observe? What is the paycheck schedule? When are benefits due? Things like that. But more importantly, maybe I also want it to be able to allow people to request time off or submit their time, or request something, to be sent to them. Maybe they want a copy of the benefits policy, things like that. Maybe my IT department wants a way for people to be able to request when they need new devices. So I need a new laptop, I need a new mouse, my battery's dead, can you send me a new battery? Instead of filling out a form, sending an email, maybe even starting a workflow, I could simply go to an agent that lives in Teams and I can say, my battery's dead, can you send me a new battery? The agent would then go, yeah, I know what to do about this. It's going to fill out the form, ask you the right questions, and send it on to the right people and kind of keep it going down the line. So the idea of the agent is that it's going to kind of help to complete some of those pre-existing tasks. There's some other agents that are coming. Oh, wait, let me look at timeline on this. Let's see. This particular agent is in private preview right now. It does not give a date for general. Some other agents that are out there that are coming is the facilitator agent in Teams, which will help you to take notes and provide updates around the conversation while it's happening. There's some stuff that's kind of already happening there in Teams. Interpreter agents not only are going to give you real-time interpretation in chat, but they're also going to do it in a voice simulation, which is really neat. So think about it, if I've got my headphones on and instead of listening to the speaker, I could simply say to the agent, please, could you please translate this into this language? And it's going to be like, yeah, sure, no problem. I put my headphones on, I can listen to the person presenting, and that agent is going to automatically simulate a personal voice and interpret that data into the language of my choice. And then this project manager agent, this is what I'm really excited to see roll out, is this project manager agent, where you're going to be able to automate things like planners, creating plans, updating tasks, adding tasks, managing progress, and completing tasks. So facilitator agent is currently in preview. And then I think these other agents are scheduled to roll out next year. Oh, oops. Sorry about that. Okay. I did mention that image uploads are coming across the board. So Copilot across the board is going to be better supported around images, but Copilot Studio updates are going to include things like the ability to upload an image directly to Copilot to be able to be analyzed. You're going to start seeing the ability to have, like I just mentioned with the translation agent, you're going to be able to see voice-enabled agents, and you're going to go into Copilot Studio. You're going to be able to use those voice-enabled agents to do things. So instead of everybody having to chat in Teams, maybe you want them to be able to ask and get an answer with a real voice. That's going to be an option that's in Copilot Studio. And then more importantly, this advanced knowledge tuning. Right now we can kind of manually override this. This is going to get better so that we can be able to tell Copilot Studio what to do if it has unanswered questions that it doesn't know what to do with. So there's some really neat things coming in Copilot Studio for us to be able to make those agents even better. And I believe, according to this, I think everything's in preview. Yeah, looks like everything's in preview right now. So if you can't see it, you probably will. If you've got preview turned on, you'll probably see it before too long if you're not already seeing it. There's a lot of neat brand new stuff in Copilot Studio. If you haven't been out in Copilot Studio recently, go out and refresh because lots of neat stuff there. All right. I know we're coming to the end of this and we've only got a couple minutes left. So Copilot Actions. So Copilot Actions are going to let us do things like delegate tasks, schedule summary emails. And if you think about the idea of an agent doing something for you, this is that idea of being able to define what that action is and then give it to an agent to be able to do it. So Copilot Actions is just a thing where you're going to be able to define more than a 1 or 2 step flow and assign that to an agent to do it. Think about like workflows that instead of just approval workflows, maybe they're 3, 4, 5, 10 steps. You can now start to define those, embed it into an action, and then assign the agent to do that action. and this is currently in private preview. OneNote with Copilot, if you guys haven't seen this is really neat. So you can do this in OneNote, you can do it in a whiteboard as well, is the idea of taking an outline and turning it into notes. So a lot of times we take notes and then we have to write them all down. But the idea of this is that you'll be able to put things on, maybe, for example, an affinity diagram on a noteboard, and then take that information and convert it into an outline, or take that information from the outline and convert it into Post-it notes so that you don't have to write them all down manually. This is currently in preview. So if you want to play with it, it should be in your OneNote or whiteboard area. If you have Copilot, if you have M365 Copilot, you should be able to play with this. All right, the last one is Copilot Pages. As is everything across M365, pages are becoming more flexible. But the idea of Copilot Pages is basically just the ability to take this to a whole nother level, so that you can add, different types of content. You can work on different devices with this and be able to see a canvas that everybody has access to be able to do things. So you can see on here, supports more content types, including code, charts, tables, diagrams, and math. So think about like a big fabric canvas that lets you be able to do things maybe in real time with somebody else. And so, for example, maybe we're both on a page, we're both doing something at the same time, and I'm asking Copilot, can you please, give me some insights on this data, and it'll pop up a chart or graph. Maybe I want to add content to it. Can you, write me a web part that's got this content into it? You can see the prompt is grounded on any of the page content and any of the updated page content. I'm looking to see. I have to be careful with some of these. Okay, let's see. New features will be available in early 2025, where they'll be able to support more content types and further edit and refine with Copilot. So basically, kind of this is like very, very beginning, but take a look at Copilot Pages because they're just kind of this cool new thing that's out there to be able to work with in a way that you've probably never worked with Pages before.